What is up, fellow nerds? My name's JD, this is Malta 5. Today, we are going to be playing some Skred Prison in Modern. And I decided to play this deck for two different reasons. The first being the most recent banned and restricted announcement, which banned Arcum's Astrolabe in Modern, which didn't seem like an overly strong, powerful, broken card, but it allowed for a surprising amount of annoying decks to exist. It just made color fixing so easy. So 3, 4, whatever, 5 color decks, you could just, yeah, it was a little bit ridiculous. So anyway, I'm glad it's gone. But so by banning it, it has now brought back to some extent the power of Blood Moon. I think we'll find out. But in theory, Blood Moon now becomes more effective again because people can't fix their colors, fix their mana base as easily. So that's reason number one why I wanted to play Skred. The other reason is I want to continue using new M21 cards, and the M21 card we're going to feature in this deck is Chandra Heart of Fire, which I think she's really, really cool planeswalker, new card from M21. And I think she fits really well into a prison-style mono-red deck. So I guess we'll talk about her first. So her +1, discard your hand, then exile the top 3 cards of your library. Until end of turn, you may play cards exiled this way. So really cool effect. By the time we get up to 5 mana, hopefully our hand will be semi-empty anyway. If it's not, we can play around this, make sure there's nothing super important we're ditching. Even if there is something good in there, she exiles the top 3. She's not like the old Torch of Defiance, which gives you the top 1 card. This big girl, Big Chandra, she gives you the top 3 cards of your library. So some serious card advantage here. It's like pseudo drawing 3 cards with her +1. And but the other cool thing about this +1 is it works really well with Ensnaring Bridge. If you've got stuff in your hand that you need to get rid of so the opponent can't start attacking in, her +1 will empty your hand for you. And even the 3 cards that she reveals are technically exiled. You don't actually draw them. That's why it's like pseudo card draw. So you have access to them, but they're not in your hand. So she plays really well with Ensnaring Bridge. And for those of you not familiar with Ensnaring Bridge, creatures with power greater than the number of cards in your hand can't attack at all. So if you have 0 cards in hand, there's not many creatures that are going to be able to swing in. So Ensnaring Bridge along with Blood Moon make up the 2 big kind of prison pieces of this deck. To finish up with Chandra, her other +1 deals 2 damage to any target, which is definitely nice. And then her -9, search the graveyard and library for any number of red instant and or sorcery cards, exile them, then shuffle your library. You may cast them this turn, add 6 red mana. So the ultimate is nice. If we can keep plussing her and we can get off her ultimate, why not? We can search up all our lightning bolts. And that's at least, that's 12 damage right there in just bolts. So hopefully by that time we've gotten the opponent down to where that will finish them off. If not, it'll at least get us much closer. We can kill off any other creatures with our Skreds, our Anger the Gods, Abrade, whatever. We could even cast Desperate Rituals if we want to and ramp up into some other big spell if the 6 red mana she gives us isn't enough. But anyway, so that's Chandra. Works really well with Ensnaring Bridge, and so there's our big girl, the new M21 card. So anyway, the other big piece of this deck, I guess. Well, there's a lot going on here. We are mono red. Could have splashed white. I guess one of the bigger reasons for a white-red prison deck was a card called a Suppression Field, which makes it cost 2 more to activate all activated abilities. However, that would obviously shut off our Planeswalkers, and I wanted to go heavy on Planeswalkers because of the Chandra. So that's obviously not going to play well with our deck, so I decided to just go mono red. And being mono red, we can easily play a bunch of basic lands. So we're playing a bunch of snow-covered mountains and Scrying Sheets and Frostwalk Bastion, the other cool utility snow lands, which do get shut off by Blood Moon, but not the end of the world. It's not a huge deal. But yeah, the namesake part of this prison deck, Skred Prison, is this card here. Skred deals damage to target creature equal to the number of snow permanents you control. So, as the game goes on, this can take care of pretty much anything. Late game, this is doing 5-6 damage to a creature, so this can take care of all kinds of stuff. Bolt, obviously super versatile, 3 damage to any target, so we can use this on creatures, planeswalkers, the opponent's face. It's just a great card. Desperate Ritual is in the deck to help us ramp into our 3-drops, because the 3-drop slot is our important one here. If we can slam down a turn 1 or 2 Blood Moon, and Ensnaring Bridge isn't as important to rush out. We're not going to be getting attacked by a ton of creatures super quick, but a turn 1 or 2 Blood Moon is definitely nice. If you can slam that turn 1, especially on the play, your opponent might just be screwed. They might not be able to activate their fetch lands. They don't have a chance to play around it. So Desperate Ritual gets us from turn 2 to turn 3 earlier. And in combination with Simian Spirit Guide, like I said, we can even do this turn 1. If turn 1 we have a Simian Spirit Guide and a Desperate Ritual in hand, we can drop a turn 1 Blood Moon. You go Mountain, exile Simian Spirit Guide, use those 2 mana to cast the Ritual, you now are up to 3, and there's your Blood Moon. Also in the 2-drop slot, we have an Abrade, just a singleton. It's a more creature removal, which we already have in the form of Skred and Bolt. But it is one main deck way to destroy an artifact as well. It's versatile. This can take care of, a random vial from our opponent, Ether Vial, or more problematic for us, because vials do help the opponent get around Blood Moon. They don't need their mana if they're dropping things in with Aether Vials. So Braid takes care of Aether Vials. It takes care of opposing like Pithing Needles and Sorcerer's Spyglasses, which are super annoying because we are very Planeswalker heavy. So if they start naming our Planeswalkers and shutting those down, that can be quite annoying. So we have one main deck, we have another one on the sideboard. Moving on to the important 3-drop slot, like I said, we already talked about Blood Moon, we talked about Ensnaring Bridge, those are the prison pieces. Simian Spirit Guide helps us ramp there, turn 1 or 2. Anger the Gods. I am running 0 creatures in the main board, unless you count Simian Spirit Guide, which we will hard cast him once in a while, I'm sure. But for the most part, we're not running any creatures, so we can easily just fling around these Anger of the Gods without fear of hitting any of our own, and hopefully clean up any board states that start to get out of control. Does 3 damage to each creature. I could have used this or Sweltering Suns. Maybe Sweltering Suns is better. The difference being Sweltering Suns can cycle, but Anger of the Gods exiles. So I don't know which is better. We're going to find out. I went with Anger of the Gods against things like Dredge and whatever. Just exiling them, getting them gone for good. It seems like it could be very good, very relevant. So we've got 3 Anger of the Gods to help clear up anything that our Bolts and Skreds missed. Keep the board state from getting too crazy overwhelming. We've got Ensnaring Bridge, we already talked about, and the last one is Little Baby Chandra, the 3-drop Chandra. And she works really well with our other Chandras. If we have a couple Chandras on the battlefield, her +1 ups everybody, which is really nice. If it's just her out, it's basically add a loyalty counter, do nothing, which is fine. But if we have other Chandras out, they all get +1 loyalty counter, which is pretty cool. She can also create elemental tokens. They gain haste, sacrificing at the beginning of the next end step. So they're not sticking around, so we can still anger the gods, but it's potentially getting in a couple points of damage here and there. In the right board state, that could be a cool effect. And her -2, she can cast instants or sorceries with converted mana cost 3 or less from our graveyard. And we don't have any over converted mana cost 3, so she can cast Abrades, Lightning Bolts, Skreds, whenever we need Anger of the Gods. She can cast all that from the graveyard, which is kind of cool. The only bad thing is it exiles, and that doesn't play well with her ultimate, but I mean, that's not going to come up that often. We're not relying on Heart of Fire's ultimate necessarily. To go with our Chandra Tribal, we have Torch of Defiance, which was previously probably thought of as the best Chandra, but I kind of really, really like Heart of Fire. She's just so beefy. She does cost 5 mana, but she comes down with pluses, both 2+ abilities, both relevant, both really good. She gets up to 6 really fast. Anyway, Torch of Defiance, also solid. 4 mana. Her plus is similar exile to the other Chandras. Exile the top 1 card. You may cast that card. If you don't, it does 2 damage instead. So, pretty cool effect. A little card advantage. She can also add 2 red mana. Help us cast an additional spell this turn. Ramp into something bigger. She can deal 4 damage to target creature. And her emblem is kind of cool. You get an emblem whenever you cast a spell. This emblem deals 5 damage to any target. So Torch of Defiance. Not bad. And finally, we have our friend Karn. He works really well in a prison-style deck because it allows us to have a kind of a toolbox sideboard, and we can fetch up all kinds of artifacts to suit whatever situation we have. So his static ability takes care of opposing artifacts really well, just by casting him. Activated abilities of artifacts your opponent's control can't be activated. So he's some built-in main board artifact hate. As for his toolbox, I've got a Pithing Needle and a Sorcerer's Spyglass. Both same effect, but Sorcerer's Spyglass allows you to look at the opponent's hand. So depending on the situation, we might not know exactly what we want to name. So we'll grab the Spyglass. If not, we'll grab the Pithing Needle. It's a little cheaper. So this will come in against opposing planeswalkers, that sort of any activated abilities, of which there are many examples. But so these shut down a lot of things. Very handy card. We've also got Soul Guide Lantern as our graveyard hate. We need something one-sided, so it was either this or Tormod's Crypt, because we don't want to exile our own graveyard, because we want them in there for the Chandra's effect, both Chandras. They play instants and sorceries out of our graveyard, so I wanted a one-time effect. This can cantrip if needed. It's obviously 1 mana more expensive than Tormod's Crypt, but I think the card draw makes it a little bit better. Damping Sphere against Electron, Amulet Titan, and then also against decks like Storm, where they're trying to cast a bunch of spells in one turn. So we've got that in there. Dragon's Claw against Burn, because Burn can be a tough matchup for us. They do obviously run creatures, so Ensnaring Bridge helps a little bit, but they have just a ton of direct damage burn spells, of which we kind of have a hard time dealing with. Blood Moon doesn't affect them, Ensnaring Bridge doesn't wreck them, so it's just a lot of damage that we can't stop. So Burn could be really tough for us. So Dragon's Claw is great against those. That's why I have 3 of them, because I think Burn's going to be a tough matchup. But Dragon's Claw, whenever any player casts a red spell, you gain 1 life. So when we're casting our spells, we're gaining life. When they're casting their spells, they're gaining life. So it really offsets the damage that Burn is trying to put out there, and hopefully keeps us alive. Torpor Orb is a cool one. We don't have any creatures, except for Rabblemaster, which I'll talk about in a minute. So this Torpor Orb doesn't affect us at all, but it's really good against spirits, humans, certain combo decks, like Kiki Jiki stuff, creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. So yeah, it just shuts down, um, like I said, spirits, humans, kite sail freebooter triggers, whatever, all that sort of thing. And that's it for Karn's little tutor package. Also in the sideboard, we have another Abrade that I mentioned. We have Goblin Rabble Master, and we have Chandra Awakened Inferno. Now, these are coming in probably against control. So game 1 with 0 creatures in our deck, hopefully that just obviously makes all their removal spells dead. And so hopefully after game 1 they'll take out a bunch of removal, at which point we bring in Goblin Rabble Master so he's more safe. Just a really aggressive card. If we can rush him out turn 1 or 2, he can really start putting in a bunch of damage. So he'll come in against decks like Control that may have removed their removal spells post board. And Chandra Awakened Inferno cannot be countered, so obviously really, really good against Control. Each opponent gets an emblem with at the beginning of your upkeep. This emblem deals 1 damage to you, so she'll start stacking up damage on her opponents. 3 damage to each non-elemental creature, so she wipes the board really well. And she can just deal X damage to target creature or planeswalker, blah, blah, blah. So she's really good against Control. And the reason why I wanted to have so many cards to bring in against Control is because our ensnaring bridges and creature removals are probably going to be pretty dead. I mean, typical Control doesn't usually run much in the way of creatures, so these might be dead cards in hand. So we need to have something to replace them with post board, so we're not just holding dead cards. So like Spyglasses and Pithing Needles and Rabble Masters and Awakened Infernos would all probably come in against Control, and we'll take out the Angers and the Skreds and whatever. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I think we covered everything. Yeah, we'll see how well positioned Blood Moon is with Arcum's Astrolabe gone. Hopefully Blood Moon can do some work again. Excited to push the new Chandra Heart of Fire to work, see what she can do. So yeah, we're going to try some Skred Prison, going to take it through a Modern League. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the first round.